News stripped down, where I dig through the news and weed out all the nonsense so you guys don't have to. 30 minutes or less. Why? Because anything longer than that's probably just BS, anyways. Today is April 17th, 2026. It's Friday, you guys, the end of the week. Oh, no more writing for the weekend. Wow. What a week. What a week we've had. Yeah, it's minus 6 degrees Celsius here in southwestern Manitoba. It's snowing again. There's this layer of ice on top of the snow, which is making the snow harder to melt now because we had snowstorm of 4 to 6 inches a couple days ago, and then it rained right after. So yeah, quite the skiff of ice on the snow. So don't be going out there making snow angels unless you want to get all cut up. Oh, so yeah, that's 21.2 degrees Fahrenheit to you guys down in the States. And let's get into it. Air Canada has suspended flights from Toronto, Montreal to New York's JFK Airport, and this is due to fuel costs, apparently. So, yeah, if you guys are planning on going to New York City and flying out of Toronto Pearson's Airport, ain't happening. Ain't happening. I got some more to talk about that towards the end of this video. And over to the Strait of Hormuz. Commercial shippers are waiting for clarity and security guarantees as Iran announced today that they would be opening the strait just during the ceasefire, though. As long as they stay in the designated routes that crosses the Iranian waters. So really, were all those mines really there, or was that like a bluff? Because it almost seems like they were just saying that they had mined the crap out of the waters there, but now they're saying, yeah, you guys, you're pretty much free to go, but as long as you take this route. But no specified route has been announced though, so that's pretty interesting. And then before all this, roughly through that strait, there was roughly around 130 ships per day that would cross through there. So we'll see if we can start to see those numbers get up there. And you know what? We could actually see the numbers probably reach up into the 200s due to the fact that, there's a lot of ships sitting there waiting to get that straight right now. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. Um, and then yeah, there's some leaked audio about of an Iranian official stating that Khamenei, the newly elected leader uh, of Iran, and there, the new Ayatollah, did not survive his injuries. There was some audio. It's hard to discern if this is true or not, but before the U.S. had their meetings, they were there to going to discuss the ceasefire. Yeah, one of the Iranian officials had been caught saying like, we might not have anything to bring to the table due to the fact that Khamenei is not alive. So, but I don't know how true this is. I'm gonna try and see what happens throughout the weekend and see if I can get actual notice that if he is alive or not. So, yeah. And then over to the UK, Microsoft and other US tech companies have successfully lobbied the EU to hide environmental toll on their data centers. This investigation has found the demands to block the database of green metrics from the public view, written in almost word for word the EU rules. So the problem they're having with these data centers is energy costs, noise pollution, and then them using fresh potable water. So now they're going to be taking water from the people who need it. I know water is starting to become scarce. That'll probably be the next major thing is fresh water. And then with all these data centers, and with the research that's coming out with the data centers that are in the US already, a lot of people aren't very happy having these data centers next to them with either noise pollution. Some people even complaining about the smell because some of these data centers, I believe, run by Elon Musk, are powered by methane gas. So yes, methane, you burn it off. Yeah, you shouldn't have a smell. But yes, you do still deal with a smell at the end of the day when it comes to that. And then infecting wells. Like I said, water is going to be a major issue. And yeah, many Americans are already trying to stand up against these data centers. And then with this data centers too in the UK and the EU that they're building, who's going to be paying to power these? With energy crisis that's already had, well, with energy being as expensive as it is already, even before this Iran conflict, blah blah blah. Even before that, who is paying to power these data centers? Because at the really what it comes down to is the hydro companies, the power companies, they're going to fork it back over to us as the consumer at the end of the day. So you're going to see the rising price of energy costs due to the fact that the data centers are being subsidized through these hydro companies by getting us to pay for it. So keep that in mind too, you guys, when it comes to stuff like that. And then for Microsoft and other data companies to sit there and lobby to hide this information from the EU people, we should be looking into this a little bit more and then, maybe kind of putting a stop to this. Like, we should have a say. Because right now, what they're doing, it's not going to be totally public notice. What they're going to do is they're going to ball it up into one big ball so you don't know exactly who is using what. So you can't tell if a big corporation, a big manufacturing company is using that power or a data center is using that. They're going to conglomerate all those into one big ball so you don't know who specifically is using what. So be aware of that, you guys. Please be aware of that. And then please, and you guys in the UK, speak up about this. Seriously, speak up about this, because with what's happening in the United States and with these other data centers, a lot of people aren't happy and a lot of people are actually fed up with having these data centers there. And then down over to Panama, the Panama Canal is denying that they're auctioning off passages through the Panama Canal there. Uh, I wouldn't say that they're auctioning off passage through there. Yes, the Panama Canal is getting crowded right now because, yes, ships are using that more due to the fact that the conflict in the Middle East, blah, blah, blah. But what Panama is doing right now is they're taking offers. They're not auctioning off passages through there. Yes, they're going to take money from the highest bidder to get quicker access to those terminals. That is a very good point there. That is a very good point. Check out that point right there. I know there's a lot of things, even EV vehicles. We should have had the infrastructure there before we started releasing all these electric vehicles because we don't have the infrastructure to be able to handle that type of power output. And then back over to the Panama Canal. Yeah, so yeah, this is kind of getting a lot of shipping companies frustrated right now. It's almost like they're being held hostage, but they aren't. The rest of them just have to wait in line, but a lot of people are cut-seeing. Like, really, how would you feel if somebody cut you in line when you're waiting at the grocery store? Make you pretty mad, right? Yeah, you can now imagine how these other shipping companies are now. You'd be like, oh, okay, no, you have to wait because this guy paid extra so he could have better access, like a VIP access. But I don't believe that they're auctioning off these, but this is what the media is claiming. Yes, they're taking bribes. 100%, they're taking bribes to have quicker access. But to say that they're auctioning off like access to the Panama Canal, I think that's a little far-fetched. And that could lead, just by saying that, that could lead to a lot more problems too. Then over to Syria. Syria has taken control of all U.S. military sites where U.S. forces were previously been deployed. Damascus is saying that this reflects the successful absorption of the Kurdish-led fighter into the national structure. So yeah, I don't know. You see what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan there. I don't know. People seem pretty happy. Like the Taliban. Uh, I've watched YouTubers and stuff travel through Iraq and Afghanistan. They say it's relatively safe. It's not like what people portray it to be. So I don't know. The Kurdish-led fighters, they're always been like U.S. backed, always loving Americans. And then due to the fact that if they ever need something like weapons or anything, the U.S. is only a phone call away. And then it'd be amazing to see what was all left behind at these military bases for the Kurdish military to, utilize themselves. Uh, and then over to Australia, the University of Sydney has done a study on the effectiveness for treating anxiety, depression, and PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. Uh, Not surprisingly, after reviewing a mass of clinical evidence, the research has found no reliable support on any cannabis use that is going to help with anxiety, depression, or PTSD. If anything, it's going to make it worse, especially if you have underlying mental health issues, whether it's in your family or you haven't felt anything yet. I have seen people, smoking weed for the first time who have, kind of bumped up these, mental issues that they have had. And then anyone ever smoke marijuana? Like, really? How much anxiety does that give you? Like, more anxiety does weed give you? Like, I smoke weed. I have, like, well, also depending on the weed, but you have wicked anxiety. So to treat an anxiety drug for anxiety doesn't work. And then to treat it for PTSD, again, I never seen that. I don't see how this is going to actually help anyways. And this is just another way, like the US and Canada legalizing marijuana. This is just another way to keep us all stupid. And if people are going to buy it illegally and harm themselves, why don't we sell it ourselves, tax the people for it, and let them hurt themselves then? And then we can gain a profit from that. So really, it's a 6-7. It's a 6-7 is what it is. It makes absolutely no sense. It's almost like liquor. Really, they should be banning liquor across Canada, but they seem to just be allowing more drugs into the system. You just wait. One day, cocaine, ecstasy, all this is going to be legal and it's going to be taxable, and the government's going to make money off of us. Well, you already seen stuff like this happen in British Columbia, Canada, where they legalized the possession of drugs. They also legalized a clean supply of drugs and started supplying users with clean drugs that they knew what was in them, like your heroin, your cocaine, your medical grade fentanyl. Like, and it never worked. It never worked. All those studies and all those plans that they had have all come to a quits, and that was only January, February. I believe that was in February that they put a complete kibosh to this program in D. Why? Because it wasn't helping. The safe injection sites, it reduces disease, it reduces harm reduction, it reduces deaths. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Like, you guys are just putting a band-aid on a system that is like, your limb is cut off and they're trying to put a band-aid on it. And then by putting a legal sorry, a sustainable, safe drugs into the system, it doesn't work. You're just adding to the problem more. And yeah, you're giving people good drugs and then you send them back to the streets. Now they're going to overdose even more because you're giving them a better product there. And then once they can't get that better product, what are they going to do? They're going to go to the streets, get a weaker product, and then end up double dosing and then ODing. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. There have been some countries who have done this and done very well at it. But yeah, it's a little bit different. A lot of these countries that are doing programs like this, they throw these people in jail and they make them sober up for a couple months before they release them. And it's hard. It's hard. Like, look at in India what they do to their people. Afghanistan does the same thing. If you have an addiction problem, they just lock you up and they wait till you're sober. They don't have any like programs where they try and rehabilitate you away from drugs. They just straight force you to stop taking drugs. Maybe we should start reverting our prisons into treatment centers. And then down into the US news. This is pretty interesting. A US nuclear firm has submitted plans to the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission for the Eagle 1 liquid metal fast reactor. I have heard about this. There was talks about this probably 6 or 8 years ago about this new form of reactor. And this is going to use liquid molten lead as a coolant, but this is going to use a bismuth lead mix. Bismuth has a melting temperature around 175 degrees. So what this does, it's like a preemptive safety in case if there's going to be what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, okay. To stop the reactor from hitting critical mass. So when the reactor starts reaching temperature before critical mass, this liquid, the lead, uh, bismuth will start melting and react as a coolant. So we shouldn't have any like, fallout or anything like that. But this lead bismuth mix that they're using does start producing other, nuclear radioactive elements, such as polonium 210, which is relatively safe if you're handling it properly. Uh, so yeah, this is kind of interesting. So it's set up so it can't fail. So even if everything completely shut down, this lead bismuth additive will keep everything, should keep everything cool. But we'll see what happens. There also is a lithium a lithium based reactor that kind of uses the same thing. But there's still technology working on that right now. I believe the science for the lithium nuclear reactor is coming out of Canada. And a lot of that lithium for lithium nuclear reactors also comes out of Canada. I think Canada has some of the biggest deposits of this lithium for reactors. So I haven't really started mining that stuff or anything yet, but once we start getting more technology in that reactor, then we'll start seeing more mines popping up in Saskatchewan, possibly Manitoba and Alberta for this lithium product. Oh, and over to Britain. Ooh, this is wow. Yeah, Keir Starmer's in some trouble, eh? Yeah, he's under pressure over his pick for UK's ambassador for Washington. Turns out Peter Mandelson failed his security checks, but Foreign Office apparently overrode that. And critics are saying Starmer misled Parliament and the public about the whole process. He is defending himself by saying this was all done in due process and followed all the rules. Blah blah blah. Uh, but there was also recent recordings of Starmer there prove that there's recordings of statements prove that Starmer knew that Mandelson did not pass security and pushed him through anyways to have the spot. Mandelson was already rife with concern for his choice as ambassador, as he had ties with and relationship with sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. And then Kier will address the House on Monday to explain himself. While the weekend, we have plenty of time to dig up more dirt on Starmer here. And this is kind of funny. Like, we haven't heard from Starmer in how long? Like, this whole Iran thing, like, you think you would have been hearing him speaking a little bit more, but no, he's sitting there probably hiding in his bunker, sitting there. Because, yeah, not hearing very much from him. And then the stuff we do hear from him, like, oh, we're not going to let U.S. Air Forces use our bases. Well, they were already there. Like, what a stupid lie. So just more lies. The things that well, expect on Monday more lies from Starmer. Just more BS. So I probably won't be watching that because, I have better things to do and I don't want to waste my time listening to that nonsense. And then over to Canada and Ontario. Doug Ford's government in Ontario have just purchased a used $28.9 million private jet for Doug to travel through Ontario instead of driving or taking commercial aircraft. Anyone happy about that? Our Premier of Ontario just purchased a used $28.9 million jet. So he doesn't have to drive or take commercial airlines anymore. And then with how is he going to get this gravy plane off the ground with the cost of fuel? And then how does this look to his constituents where he's spending $2.9 million or $28.9 million on a private jet when the rest of us are sitting here struggling to put food on our plates? And then who's going to pay for the maintenance on this jet? How much more food is Doug Ford going to take off our table? And it's funny, he says he's pro Canada, pro Ontario. No, he's anti Canadian. He was anti Canadian the day he banned Crown Royal from Ontario because of a little spat. Because one of their bottling companies moved down to the United States. So we're going to ban a Canadian product in Canada. That is so un Canadian. And you know what, Doug? I wish I lived in Ontario because, yeah, I'd give you a piece of my mind. Actually, here, I should email this to Doug Ford. Doug Ford, you're a piece of shit, and you should look after your people a little bit more instead of worrying about your aircraft and how you're going to get from place to place instead of driving or using commercial airlines like the rest of us. You can sit there and wait in line like the rest of us. Or do you want to start giving us some tax breaks on our food in Ontario? How about that? Huh? Meanwhile, you're sitting there giving $700 to teachers so they can go buy school supplies for the students that can't afford them. Hmm? Think about that. How many millions of dollars are you going to waste doing that? Yeah, you got the teachers' votes at the end of the day, but really, what are teachers doing? Last time I talked to a young kid who went to school, you think they're learning anything? No, they aren't learning the same stuff I learned. Like, Canadian history? What Canadian history? It's all gone. We're all slowly cutting it away. We're cutting down statues, taking names off buildings. Why? Because it doesn't fit our agenda on how we want to run this country now. But it's history. This is how we change. If it wasn't for history, we wouldn't be able to make these changes. But to sit there and get rid of like statues and people's names off of buildings because it doesn't fit your agenda, it doesn't get rid of history. Like there's still going to be people out there, but we should let our young ones know where we came from and how we got there. And screw you, Doug Ford. Oh, and then today, West Texas International crude went down $10 from 94.69 a barrel to 84.66 a barrel. So that's roughly down $10 per barrel, and that's West Texas crude. And then you have your Brent crude is at 91.99 a barrel right now. Oh no, sorry, that was yesterday, and has gone down to 91. It's only gone down 90 cents per barrel. So we're not going to see that fluctuate into our food or our gas pumps when you go to fill up your vehicles or go to the grocery store. We're not going to see that for weeks, the change in those prices. Expect these fuel costs and stuff like this to probably stick around for, well, if Carney says this is going to go until, yeah, he's going to do the tax fuel break for a couple months here. Yeah, so I'd expect the next couple months, pretty much the whole summer, I think they're going to gouge us on fuel, and then expect more costs to go up in your grocery store. While big companies like Maple Leaf Foods and other major food producers are already taxing the grocery stores fuel costs to get their product to the stores. So yeah, you guys like the news like this? News stripped down 30 minutes or less. Why? Because anything longer than that is just BS anyways. I'm here Monday to Friday, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Central Time. And hit the like button if you like it like this. And then subscribe if you want. And let's end everything off on things that happened today in history. April 17th, 1961, 1,400 Cuban exiles land in the Bay of Pigs at a doomed attempt to overthrow the Fidel Castro government. I believe JFK was in power. JFK, JFK. Yeah, he was one of the big promoters of the Bay of Pigs, or the yeah, nonsense. And then April 17th, 1982, Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau and the Queen Elizabeth signed the proclamation of the proclamation of the Constitution Act establishing the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada. So that's pretty much our constitution. It'd be the same thing as the US Constitution. It'd be the Canadian Constitution. So, yeah, and that was only in 1970. But you have to realize the Canadian flag is roughly new too. Is around the same time we started getting we went from the British Union Jack to what you know now as the maple leaf with the two red sides. So yeah, so like Canada is so young when it comes to countries. And April 17th, 1860, Chapman. Okay, champion Tom Sayers and U.S. John Heeman fight 2 hours and 27 minutes until the police stopped the fight, as it ended up being a draw in the world's first title boxing match. 2 hours and 27 minutes fighting with a guy. Okay, I did judo for like 8 years. Like a 3 minute round, it feels like an eternity. It feels like 3 hours, especially even 30 seconds. When you're trying to hold somebody to the ground or trying to get an armbar or choke or strangulation, while that 30 seconds, it feels like hours. I couldn't imagine sitting there boxing a guy for 2 hours and 27 minutes. But it ended up being a draw because the police ended up breaking it up. The bobbies and their billy clubs. Oi, oi! Stop it there! You guys stop punching each other! And then April 17th, 1976, trailing 12-1, the Phillies beat the Cubs 18-16 in a 10 innings in the greatest comeback in MLB history. Wow, 12-1 and then coming back 18-16. That would have been one great game to watch for sure. And then famous birthdays, April 17th, 1820 to 1892. Alexander Cartwright, he was 72 when he passed. He was the inventor and one of the creators of what we know as modern baseball, MLB. April 17th, 1837 to 1913, J.P. Morgan, he was 75 when he passed. He was an industrialist and banker, famously known for one of the biggest supporters for Tesla until uh, uh, Rockencliffe. Oh, I'm screwing this up. Until the Rockencliffe experiment he did, where yeah, JP Morgan ended up pulling funding from him, and then they ended up tearing down that facility. And that was Tesla's free energy facility that he was working on. And then JP Morgan ended up pulling the money from him. But it wasn't JP Morgan. There's a lot of financiers that were telling him, why are you helping this guy? Kind of forcing him, to stop funding Tesla. But he was one of the biggest backers of Tesla and one of the biggest supporters. Definitely believed in his work and definitely reaped a lot of the benefits with his patents as well. And then April 17th, 1818 to 1981, William Holden. He was 63 when he passed. He was an actor. You probably know him from the 1973 TV film The Blue Knight. And then April 17th, 1954 to 2015, Canadian wrestler Rowdy Roddy Piper was 61 when he passed, and he passed due to heart conditions due to hypertension. Probably, A little bit due to some steroids and just not looking after himself. But yeah, really great. A lot of great Canadian wrestlers like the Hearts, all came out of Canada. Ended up becoming like big names even in the U.S. and Japan and China. These were all real big names. And April 17th, 1972, Jennifer Gardner, she is 54 today. And she was on the TV show, ABC TV show, thriller Alias. And April 17th, 1974, Victoria Beckham, 52, former Spice Girl, known as Posh Spice, and then married to famous footballer, aka soccer player, the other Beckham. I'm drawing a blank on what his first name is. Damn. Well, a little bit over the 30-minute mark, but that's okay. That's Friday's show. I will be back on Monday at 4 to 4:30, you guys, p.m. Central Time. And yeah, hit the like button, subscribe. Um and yeah, you guys have a good weekend. I'm not going to do any lives or anything, I think Monday to Friday for news is enough. Even the news needs a break. And it's probably best that we don't watch the news on the weekend. Let's all just take a break from the news and just forget about what's happening in the world, and let's all just worry about ourselves for this weekend, okay? Or go out and do something nice for somebody. I'd like to go outside for a walk right now, but we're still dealing with snow here, so yeah, it's still snowing right now. Yeah, not too impressed. Was gonna go for a bike ride, but that's not happening. But yeah, you guys, see you on Monday, and if I don't see you guys on Monday, have a great week. We're already halfway through this month too, you guys. So, well, time just seems to be flying by. And has anyone noticed that your stationary clocks throughout your house are getting slower and slower? Or is it just me? Because I notice my phone and my laptop they're either speeding up or my clocks in the house are slowing down. All my clocks are 2 minutes behind now, and I just reset that clock a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and it's already 2 minutes out. Does anyone else feeling that, or is it just me? But you guys leave in the comments anything like that. And then if you guys notice anything you want me to talk about, or is there something that you feel that I should be talking about that no one else is talking about, as long as it's not too drama and base, I won't talk about Epstein. I won't talk too much about what's happening in Iran. No bloodshed, no blood, no guts, no school shootings, no Epstein. I won't do that. I want to talk about stuff that, is actually affecting the world, not just sound bites that are confusing us from actually hearing what's actually happening in the world. So I'll be back on Monday. Peace out, you guys. Love you all, and have a great weekend. Okay, I'm out of here.